Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Jason, and this is a pretty awesome plant. This is known as Crassula pyramidalis. It's also known as the Pagoda Mini Jade or the pyramid Crassula. And I did a lot of research on this because there was some mixed match information I was finding online, and the place that I bought this didn't have a label on it other than it said Crassula species, but it didn't tell me exactly which one it is. So after a lot of research, this might be the variety of Crassula pyramidalis, known as the variety Scabrispina. Either way, it's a pretty cool plant. Note that this is not Buddha's temple Crassula pyramidalis. This is Crassula pyramidalis that is not the variety Buddha's temple. This plant originates from the succulent karoo in the southern Cape of Africa. And what the succulent karoo is, if you don't know, it's a pretty awesome place. It's a hotspot for biodiversity. It's also the world's largest region for succulent species. It actually contains about 1/3 of the world's 10,000, probably plus, different succulent species. So it comes from a pretty cool place. As far as care, it's pretty simple. I actually have this growing in a probably a little bit less light than would be optimal. It's winter here in California, so it actually has even less light than it usually gets right now. So the stems are usually a bit more compact, but as you can see, they have that square like pyramid shape to it when you really look close to it, and those shapes have gotten smaller, but in a little bit more sun, this actually grows more compact and it has thicker leaves. So it really just depends on what spot you have available for it and how you would like to see it grow. I really love the way that it's growing. I think this looks like a bunch of snakes coming out of a pot or moss, or it even looks like kelp in the ocean. It looks like a bunch of different really awesome things. So I absolutely love it. But yeah, as far as the lighting, I place it in sun to part sun or even part shade. That's kind of where I have it. It gets a smidge of morning sunlight and then it kind of is mostly like really just bright shade the rest of the day. And it seems to be doing just fine, but it grows longer like this. As far as the water needs, this is really drought tolerant. Its water needs are very low, so just make sure not to overwater this plant. You don't want the roots to rot, especially since it's a pretty cool plant, and I don't know where else you'd find it if you did find it. As far as feeding, you want to feed this in the spring through the fall, once a month with a succulent cactus fertilizer, or you could just give it those little cactus succulent granules, and then every time you water it, it gets a little bit of food. As far as repotting, I would repot this when it outgrows the pot. You can also root prune it to keep it in the smaller pot if you want, at least for a time. I would say potting this up into a 6-inch is kind of cool. The plant itself gets to about 10 to 12 inches tall and 10 to 12 inches wide. In like I would say a 6-inch pot, because this is a 4-inch pot and it's already pretty large. It has a spreading habit, so it keeps growing. So as far as propagation, this one is a little bit more difficult, I think, to propagate than some other succulents. You want to take a good couple inches of a cutting or more. And I use rooting hormone. I like it because it speeds up the process, even with succulents. Succulents don't necessarily always need rooting hormone. Usually they actually don't need rooting hormone because they just root on their own. But since this one's a little bit slower, I do like just a dab of rooting hormone, and then I put it in dry cactus succulent soil, leave it in there in bright and direct light for a couple months, and give it a little tug after that time to see if it's starting to grow roots. And if you got some roots growing, you can start giving it a little bit of water. And then as the roots get larger, give it a little bit more, but just don't overwater it. As far as toxicity goes, this plant is known to be toxic if ingested. It's said to be mildly toxic when ingested. Just note that this is an ornamental plant. It's not meant for eating. But if you do have pets that like to eat your plants, you might want to think about that with this one. It is cold hardy to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty cool. Oh, and another way that you can propagate this is by division. I don't know if it's really propagate. I think it's more like repotting. But as you can see, like these have all grown together, and so there are a number of different cuttings in one pot. So you can actually divide them and separate them and repot them into their own pots where they're rooted in the base. So yeah. Anyways, that's just some fun facts about this plant. Oh, and it's also known to get a bronzy hue if you have it in more light. Mine is not in more light, so it doesn't really have as much of a bronzy hue, but as you can see, it's still a pretty cool plant. If you have any other questions about this Crassula pyramidalis or the mini Pagoda Jade, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed and would like updates on my newest videos, please click that subscribe button. Once again, my name is Jason. Thanks for hanging out.